I am not just a fountain. I am the fountain. The one in the heart of the old park, surrounded by benches where lovers sit, children play, and the elderly feed pigeons. My stone is worn smooth by time, my waters dance in the sunlight, and my basin is filled with coins, shiny, dull, new, old. Each one carries a wish, a secret whispered to the universe. And I hear them all. Yes, I hear them, every single one. The wishes come in waves, some light as a feather, others heavy as the coins themselves. A child wishes for a puppy. A teenager hopes for love. A mother prays for her sick child to recover. A man in a suit, his hands trembling, begs for a second chance. I don't just hear the words, I feel them. The hope, the desperation, the longing. They ripple through my waters, leaving traces like fingerprints. Some wishes are fleeting, forgotten as soon as the coin sinks. Others linger, their weight pressing against me, year after year. Then, there are the wishes that come true. Oh, how I love those. When a child returns, laughing, to toss another coin, this time for a new bike because the puppy is already at home. Or when a young woman, her face glowing, whispers a thank you as she tosses a coin, her engagement ring catching the light. But not all wishes are granted. Some remain unanswered, their weight sinking deeper into my basin, settling like sediment. I cannot grant them. I am only a keeper, a silent witness to the dreams of humanity. Until the day he came. It was late afternoon. The park bathed in golden light. A man approached me, his steps slow, deliberate. He wasn't like the others. There was no lightness in his stride, no casual toss of a coin. He stood before me, staring into my waters as if searching for something. Then he spoke. "I don't know if you can hear me," he said, his voice low, rough. "But I need this. I need this more than anything." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a coin. It wasn't shiny or new. It was old, worn, the kind of coin that had been passed through countless hands. He held it tightly, his knuckles white, as if letting it go would cost him everything. "I wish—" His voice broke. He took a deep breath, and I felt the weight of his words before he even spoke them. "I wish I could have one more day with her. Just one more day." He tossed the coin, and it hit the water with a soft plink. And then I felt it. The wish wasn't like the others. It wasn't a fleeting hope or a quiet prayer. It was a storm, a tidal wave of emotion that crashed into me, shaking me to my core. Grief, love, regret. It was all there, raw and unfiltered. For the first time in centuries, I hesitated. I am bound by rules, ancient and unyielding. I cannot interfere. I cannot grant wishes. I can only keep them, hold them, remember them. But this wish, it was different. It wasn't just a request. It was a plea, a cry from the depths of a broken heart, and I couldn't ignore it. That night, as the park emptied and the world grew quiet, I made my decision. The man's coin lay at the bottom of my basin, its weight heavier than all the others combined. I reached for it, not with hands, for I have none, but with something deeper, something older. The moment I touched it, the world shifted. I don't know how to describe what happened next. It was as if time folded in on itself, the past and present colliding in a kaleidoscope of light and sound. And then, just as suddenly, it was over. The man was gone. The next morning, he returned. But he wasn't alone. A woman walked beside him, her hand in his. She was radiant, her laughter like music, her presence like sunlight breaking through clouds. I recognized her immediately. She was the one he had wished for. They sat on a bench near me, talking, laughing, as if no time had passed. He told her about his life, the things he had done, the things he hadn't. She listened, her eyes filled with love and understanding. And then, as the sun began to set, she stood. "It's time," she said softly. He nodded, tears streaming down his face. "Thank you," he whispered. She leaned in, kissed his cheek. And then she was gone. The man stayed for a long time after she left, sitting in silence, his face turned toward the sky. When he finally stood, he walked to me, his steps lighter than before. "Thank you," he said, his voice steady. "I don't know how, but thank you." He tossed another coin into my waters, this one shiny and new. And then he walked away. I am the fountain that keeps wishes. I do not grant them. I do not interfere. But sometimes, just sometimes, a wish is too powerful to ignore. And when that happens, I break the rules. Because some wishes are worth it. After the man left, I felt different. Lighter, perhaps. Or maybe it was something else, something I hadn't felt in centuries. For as long as I could remember, I had been a silent observer, a keeper of dreams and desires. But now, I had crossed a line. I had broken the rules. And though I should have felt guilt or fear, I didn't. Instead, I felt alive. The days passed, and the park continued its rhythm. Children laughed, lovers strolled, and coins rained into my waters, each one carrying a new wish. But I couldn't stop thinking about the man and his wish. Had I done the right thing? I told myself it was a one-time act, a moment of weakness. But deep down, I knew the truth. I had tasted something I could never forget, the power to change a life, to bring hope where there was none. And then it happened again. It was a young girl this time, no older than 10. She came to me on a rainy afternoon, her yellow raincoat bright against the gray sky. She stood in front of me, clutching a coin in her small hand. "I wish my mom would smile again," she said, her voice barely audible over the rain. She tossed the coin, and it sank into my waters, leaving ripples that seemed to echo her words. Her wish was simple, yet profound. It wasn't for herself, but for someone she loved. And as I felt the weight of her words, I knew I couldn't ignore it. That night, as the rain continued to fall, I reached for her coin. The next morning, the girl returned, this time with her mother. The woman's face was pale, her eyes shadowed with grief. But as they stood before me, something changed. The girl whispered something to her mother, and for the first time in what must have been months, the woman smiled. It was a small smile, tentative and fragile. But it was enough. The girl laughed, and the sound was like sunlight breaking through the clouds. I watched them walk away, hand in hand, and I felt that same lightness again. Word of me began to spread, though no one truly understood what was happening. People started coming to the park in greater numbers, their wishes growing more desperate, more urgent. Some came with hope, others with despair. And though I couldn't grant them all, I found myself reaching for the ones that resonated the most, the ones that carried the heaviest weight. A man who had lost his job wished for a chance to provide for his family. A woman who had been estranged from her sister wished for reconciliation. A boy in a wheelchair wished to run again, even if only in his dreams. Each time I broke the rules, and each time I felt more alive. But with every wish I granted, I also felt the strain. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, I noticed something strange. My waters, once clear and sparkling, had grown murky. The coins at the bottom of my basin seemed heavier, their weight pressing against me like a burden I could no longer bear. I realized then that my actions had consequences. For every wish I granted, I was taking on a piece of the wisher's pain, their sorrow, their longing. And though I had no regrets, I began to wonder how much more I could endure. The final test came on a cold winter night. A woman approached me, her face pale and her hands trembling. She carried a small bundle in her arms, a baby, wrapped in a thin blanket. She stood before me, tears streaming down her face. "Please," she whispered, "I don't have anyone else. I just want him to be safe." She tossed a coin into my waters, and I felt the weight of her wish. A mother's love, pure and unyielding. I knew what I had to do. That night I gave everything I had. I reached for her coin, and as I did, I felt a surge of energy unlike anything I had ever experienced. It was as if the very essence of my being was pouring into her wish, into her child. When it was over, I was exhausted, my waters still and silent. But I knew I had done the right thing. The next morning, the woman returned, her baby healthy and smiling in her arms. She knelt before me, her tears falling into my waters. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you." And then she was gone. I am the fountain that keeps wishes. I have broken the rules, and I have paid the price. My waters are no longer as clear, my stone no longer as smooth. But I do not regret my choices, because some wishes are worth everything. And though I may one day fade away, I will do so knowing that I made a difference, that I was more than just a keeper. I was a giver. And that, I think, is the greatest wish of all.